Safety Committee for Tuesday, May 20th, 6 p.m. Let the record show all the persons are present, with the exception of Anastasia, Panis, and John walked in, right? Okay. All right. Approval of the minutes. The previous meeting, Tuesday, May 6th. I'll make a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Binion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unfinished business. We have the ZBA for short-term rentals. Last we left off there, we wanted feedback from a member of the ZBA and or codes on the process that the ZBA compared to the codes department when it comes to revoking the privileges of short-term rentals. If there's no one here to talk about that, then I have nothing else to discuss on that. We can move it back to the regular meeting and we can do a vote on it. I'm gonna stand right where I'm at on that opinion. Mayor?
I think one of the questions was, if they do, pass a variance and when if they bring it back, it has to be a unanimous vote.
Mm-hmm.
And that question is no, does not have to. There has to be a public hearing and then a majority vote.
Public hearing majority vote, if the ZBA
Yeah.
is on. Okay. Is there any other questions or comments on that discussion? JR?
Bill, do you recall that originally, or John, you were here then, that originally was left that codes handled that, correct? And then it was subsequently changed to the ZBA handling?
Yes.
In the original short-term rental legislation, didn't codes originally handle it?
Yeah.
And short-term rentals were permitted in any zoned area that a rental was allowed in, correct? So if a single-family rental was allowed in whatever zones, then an Airbnb or a short-term rental was allowed in that same area, correct?
Originally.
So then, what was the reason for the change? Tiffany can answer, she's raising her hand behind you.
Oh, Tiffany?
I believe that it was because, one of the people on the council at that time had concerns about what happened on Grove Street. And so they wanted something with a little bit more teeth, they weren't sure how it was gonna work out, that was fresh from the Grove Street issues. Codes can explain to you why, probably more why. That was, yeah, when I spoke with Ryan about it, that it was something that one of the aldermen had requested at that time, and the rest of the council went with it.
Okay.
So then, I guess I'd be wondering about if Ryan's one with the answers, I'd like to know the answer.
Well, he was here last week or a week before, so, like I said, I brought this back to the committee to discuss, more in depth. I'm perfectly fine with moving this back to the regular meeting and let the council vote how they vote. I did want to raise that concern, and, I haven't changed on that, so.
So then discuss it, so that we can have a discussion. Problem with going and having it in the ZBA's hand is that the ZBA is not an enforcement division or an arm of the city. Your position is that you don't want to rely on codes. However, codes are going to be the ones that are relied upon for the enforcement to then go back. So I'll maintain the same stance that it shouldn't be that a short-term rental, it shouldn't matter. You know, the public, say, well, we want to have a right to know who's living there. If you have an apartment, you don't have to say who's going to live there. What's the difference if they're there for 30 days, 31 days, or 45? What's the difference if it's a long-term rental and they move out every 2 months? It's really just, you have codes, they're the ones that are gonna enforce it. If you wanna figure out a way to then have that right revoked, do it through the codes office, because you gotta rely on them anyways.
So we're relying on codes to bring us any of their policies or procedures that lack this teeth, right? So my thing is if we don't have the teeth there, if it was moved because of the previous alderman that decided or convinced the council at the time to move it to the zoning board, why are we now moving it back? So every time we have a change of legislation or a change of groups, we're just gonna just teeter-totter and seesaw with this stuff and move back and forth. There was a reason why it was moved out of there from the first place. That's where I'm going with it.
It was moved because one person had a problem in an influential neighborhood where there was a party and an Airbnb.
So it was moved
So-
for bad reasons in the first place.
So, one party in an Airbnb that could have been a long-term rental,
Yeah.
could have been in anything. I'll also, you know, ask to consider that Airbnbs typically, or short-term rentals, are not bringing problems. They're typically working-class people, professionals that are coming in here, traveling nurses. It's not, you know, a big party thing. So, like I said, one issue, and somebody took an issue with it and moved it kind of on a personal agenda. They should be allowed in any area where a rental is allowed. It's a rental. They should be handled the same exact way. If you want to change something to put teeth in it, then you need to change the code, not who handles it. Because the ZBA can't just go out there and monitor like a neighborhood watch and issue a citation for the grounds to remove the variance. You still gotta rely on that codes department back there. So without any teeth that you just talked about, it doesn't matter who's doing it. It doesn't matter if Tiffany's office is doing it, Michiko, it doesn't matter. You still gotta rely on that office back there.
Anyone else on that one? All right, like I said, I'm good with that one. We can move that one back to the regular meeting and, for a vote. So moving on to drainage issues on, 309 to 315 East Oak Street. This one would be Dave.
Yeah, this is the one I showed you the pictures of last week with the drainage running down Oak Street into the neighbor's driveway into the backyard. And Commissioner was supposed to, or DPW was supposed to look into it. I don't know if you had time or not. If you want to come up here.
Look at it.
You want to come up here?
No, I'll stand here. So I visited the site with both my sewer and water superintendent and with the city engineer. The city engineer did put together a cost estimate to raise some curbs across these two driveways, which will prevent some water from going onto this property, where the complaint is. But I want to caution you that we can raise that curb and these people are still gonna have a wet backyard because their backyard is indeed the low point on the entire block. So all the other backyards, and I haven't been here long enough to keep my directions straight, but I think it's to the west, to the south, from the corner of Ash and East Oak. They drain down to the property where the complaint is, and that's going to continue. So there's still gonna be a lot of other drainage accumulating right where it is now. So short of, well, obviously the city doesn't have authority to basically regrade the entire interior of the block. That would be entirely inappropriate. So we can do some work on Oak Street in front of a couple of driveways. It will probably help some, but it will not solve the problem.
So, just a quick question, do you believe, just from, because I've driven by there and I know there's a couple others in Olean where they've complained about the water in their yards, it's pretty much pre-existing. It has to be from the lower level compared to the road itself.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, if you do build up some of that, the only complaint I got was on that, the guy in the corner, the water running down to his neighbor's driveway, not even his driveway. So if you build up some of the curbing there, because I've never had that complaint before, and I've been in Alderman for 16 years, so, from down there. So.
From that exact location.
For North Olean, correct. So would that solve the issue of of that new problem, because he didn't start getting that until last year when they milled and paved the street.
We can return that driveway opening to a standard driveway opening, which is essentially a 1-inch lip of low curb across the driveway opening. When they repaved it, it does look like perhaps the new asphalt is marginally higher than what was there before. Of course, I wasn't here before, and, you know, detailed, records of that detail were not kept and aren't typically kept of a resurfacing job. So we can return it to a situation where it meets standard engineering practice, and then after that, whatever it is, it is.
JR?
I drove down by there that day that I tried to call you, and I had actually talked to Vernon about that. So, he's correct that, you know, that 1 inch is gone, but whether or not that's the first call you got, I'm not an engineer, but I can tell you that's not the last call you're gonna get. So I would be in favor of allowing and putting the 1 inch reveal, but the entire Ash Street, unimproved street, sheds to that low spot behind that garage, as does East Pine Street, sheds to that low point. And on the driveway side, just as a point of interest, their roof leader drains and is directed to the very pond that you sent a picture of. It drops off their roof. If you look down the neighbor's driveway and look on the back corner of that house, that roof leader goes directly to that pond that they sent as part of the complaint, or you sent. So, I don't know if there's a way that they'd be in agreement to say that they fix that, then there's nothing else, acknowledge that there's nothing else the city can do once they fix that 1 inch lip in front of that driveway on 309.
Yeah. Well, I think too, if we put that 1 inch lip back, that might help, because they're in front of that house, that second one in from the corner. There is a drain there. I think it's a little bit higher, so maybe the water would revert back to that drain that's already there.
Some of it may, yeah.
Is there a way that they can do that, though, you know, in the past? Like, if you do that, they sign some type of acknowledgement saying that there's,
Yeah, we could get the city attorney, I'm sure, to come up with something.
I'm just asking, because I hear your question, Dave, but wouldn't you, you know, again, like, that's not gonna do it. They're draining their roof into that low area.
Yeah, you're talking about the back.
Yeah, where the water's collecting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm talking, right now, I'm talking about the front where the street was milled, where it's going down the neighbor's driveway, not in the back.
and settles in the back.
No, it's, well, part of it's settling in the back, but it's running down, I got the pictures there, it's running down, this is what's causing it. And it's running down the neighbor's driveway. Where's the driveway? Her driveway right here, running down the driveway into the sidewalk, and is approaching the front of his house now, coming off of Oak Street. It's running down this way, and it's running down this driveway, and because, you're right, because it's lower down there where Ken lives, it's running down the sidewalk and in front of his house. Remember, Bill, you were there that day, he showed us his steps that are starting to deteriorate, and his planter that he put down there is, the sidewalks being raised because of the thaw and freeze in the wintertime with the ice melt and so forth. So, you were down there with Ben and I.
You guys have anyone?
Yeah, Dave, that'll solve that problem most likely. What I'm talking about is the other picture that you sent,
Yeah,
of the pond,
you're talking about
dramatic
picture in
effect.
the back.
That one, it's
Yeah.
not gonna solve that.
It's not gonna solve this one, right? I agree with you.
Okay.
Jesse, Bridget?
So, yeah, I'm in favor of us just fixing the small section in the front off the street there. To, if we need to put a lip there or what have you to, or nail that down, as you mentioned, to bring it down to a standard. After that, I would be opposed to anything else there.
Do you have an estimated cost on what that would take?
I think if we do have one, and I can share that with you, but I'll be honest with you, I could not get Outlook to yield it to me before I came down.
Okay.
That cost, John?
Yeah.
It was like $1,600. Oh,
That was,
Well, that was with concrete and.
that was with
to
concrete and
drive
stuff on
it.
the end. I thought the curb was like $1,600 or something,
That's,
right?
that's probably right, but I'll get that from The
Just,
city engineer in the morning and share it with the council.
yeah,
The
that.
previous had aprons involved and
Yes.
stuff like that, no.
And so just, while I have the floor, it's, again, I just want to remind everyone, it's a slippery slope, when it comes to low. We've all heard it for many years, and, Dave, I think it's the second time, I'm pretty sure you brought forward a property next to 7-Eleven on, is that North Union Street? There, that had, again, a low point that the city's responsible. Everybody's gonna claim that something the city did caused all this water to collect in their, and sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not, it's pretty hard to prove, and it can be pretty subjective, but, I think it's just, you gotta be cautious, because there's a lot of those low points. I've got a number in my ward too, that the yard is lower than the road, and it's anytime it rains heavy, it becomes a pond. So if there's a meaningful, compromise solution that you guys can come up with to try whatever you're saying, fixing the driveway, the lift there, then, I think at least we give that a go first.
Who knows, can break it down.
All right, so I think we're good with that one, you're good?
Yep.
All right, so, do we need a PL for that?
Are we looking next week to transfer the funds to pay for this?
Have to know what it cost is.
Yeah, well, I guess once we find out the cost exactly, then we'll know what we would need to transfer, and then from where, I would imagine. We're still in the fiscal year here, I mean,
Well, we can either transfer from sewer fund contingency to the capital fund, or if we wait until the first meeting in June, we can just transfer it into street line item.
like, council, I'd say transfer it to a capital fund, that way it's there and it can be used from sewer contingency.
Yes, there's probably.
Yeah.
Is that good with everyone else?
Works for me.
All right.
Okay.
All right, moving on to new referrals, we have the iWork Citizen Complaint Module, and this will be codes. Lieutenant Bob. Captain, I'm sorry to demote you, I apologize, I so apologize, I know that feeling. Thank you.
All right, this is the citizen complaint module coming up through iWorks. To access this, you get on the city website, and report an issue is the little key tab here that Jerry set up for us. So if you click that, it takes you to this, which is submit a request or find an existing request. When you're gonna make the complaint, you click on submit a request. It will take you to this page. So as the public would come along and you get the requester name, they would put their name in here. So this field, and this field, actually they're all required. So you gotta put in a phone number and then an email. Try that again. Okay. Computer's not as fast as Sean is. All right, so once we get to this point, then this is a drop-down box. You select that, and then this is our most common complaints that we have. If you guys can think of any more, we can add them. We added one the other day at the department head meeting when we presented this to the department head meeting. Sean is the administrator on this, and he worked with iWorks to build a lot of this. So today we're gonna do a streets complaint. So, then it asks for an address or location. You can type the physical address in here, or you can go over here to the map, and you can drag and drop, and just click on a spot, and we're gonna do the pothole that was by the mall. That has been since filled in. So what that does is, you click there, and it clicks nearest address. So with this being a DPW complaint, when we forward this to DPW, they can go, okay, there's a pothole, I'm sure it's not here, but it's in that location. So, it's easy, like I said, it's easy to drop and drag, you can go anywhere in the city. If you don't know the house, you can get close to the house, or it's 3 houses down from mine, 1, 2, 3. You don't have to give us the exact address. You can upload a file. So Sean's got a picture of the pothole. Then that file's uploaded there. And then down here, you click submit. And you can, the comment part is you can type as much as you want in there. So this is the information it gives to the requester. This is the person doing the complaint. So they get all this. This request number is their reference number. And it's also up here. So when they want to check back, they can go back and look and see where I'm at, as long as they have that reference number. So this is what comes up on our end. And there's the current complaint. So we can open that complaint. Here's the request. There's the number, the date, the time. It's a streets request. Who the requester is, the number, their email, their address, location of the complaint. So in this case, and it shows the status is submitted. So when we review this, we'll change this to, and it referred to DPW. So when we refer to DPW, we have to go over here, email the request. Here's the drop down of everybody that's available on email, DPW admin. I believe there's 5 of you will get this. I know the director, Brad, and I think the 3 secretaries get it. So somebody will pick up on that. Subject, streets, message, this is stuff that we'll type and send them. So bam, that's off to DPW. And really at this point, it's in their hands. So when this person comes back and looks for their request to see what their status is, they're gonna see that it was referred to DPW with the request number. Again, Sean will go back and he's pretty quick at this. I can't talk and do this at the same time. There you go. So the status right here is referred to DPW. So now that's DPW's thing to deal with. So we're gonna get with these other departments and say, once you're done with the complaint, let us know. We can go back into our side and issue a public response. Add that, so they can look at that and say, okay, it's getting done. And then, once we get notification the pothole's filled, we can go back in on our side and close the complaint. It's gonna just be communication between our departments, which I think we work pretty well together, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. What else, Sean?
So you have to go, Sean, or somebody goes back in and changes it from referred to DPW to closed or something?
they get an email and you can just copy and paste. What else was there, Sean?
Like you said, we can add a complaint type on
Yep.
here that takes enforcement, so if you guys think something you want to put it on there, no problem.
Yep.
But we also talked at the department head meeting that they can do a query every month to see which ones are open.
Yep.
And they can get with DPW and check with them, say what's going on with these.
Yeah, we could do it weekly, monthly, bi-weekly. That way we can keep up on our stuff so we're not getting slammed and, you know, if we get animal complaints that go to the cops, you know, where are you at with this? And then they're like, I don't know. 3 weeks down the line, we get hit with 50 of them that we gotta go through and sort and try to get closed.
We did have a complaint per request of, Marcy, that it's not
Yeah.
for emergency response, because if they get like a PD complaint,
Oh,
obviously, like, it's gonna be sent to the email, you're not talking to dispatch. So, we're not gonna be handling this immediately, so we need to be aware of that.
Did you hear that, Dave?
McCall?
So you can get a report, but does that generate into like a worksheet or a spreadsheet for you guys
Yeah, can you go through those complaints?
for showing what's not done?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This, right here where the status is, we can go through and we can actually, if you can open those up, open the top one there since you filled it. Right here, I think we can change the status to closed. Then we go back to the list. It shows that it's closed right there.
But is it savvy enough to sort and pull out only the stuff that's open?
Yeah, we can run a report.
Okay.
There's probably 50 reports that we have to build separately, but yeah, we can do that.
I'm just thinking of time savings and efficiency.
I think if they hit that arrow button too, it'll sort of, you see that arrow, by the status and all.
Okay.
Yeah, if you
Well,
toggle
this
that
one
off,
up here, I think, is the one that'll be selected. Yeah, it's not hard to get through it, but,
Okay.
you know,
You know what? Dave,
Yes.
this is for the tech savvy people that like mine get computers, but there are some people that don't have computers, so is your office still taking code or phone calls?
oh yeah, for sure. This is what you guys wanted. This is your citizen engagement portal, to submit complaints online. So you guys can log in, which we'll have to open the window again so you guys can get logged in. Then this is the page you'll see. You can't see any of the pictures they can see the complaint pictures, they can't see our pictures.
Right, so you guys will be able to see everything that they submit to us.
What the
What
public.
the complaint is, all the pictures they submitted. Once we export this complaint to our code enforcement module, because we have the ability to do that, just do this, export to code enforcement. All this now is evidence that can be used in the pending court case, so you're technically not allowed to see that.
Right.
This doesn't, when the public goes to submit a complaint, there is nothing that is a public view of current complaints that have already been submitted, right?
No, okay, you need that individual. number to
So-
look it up.
Okay, all right, and that's fine, so that'll just get, if somebody, by chance, 2 people submit the complaint, that'll just, you guys will know what's going on, if there's, if identical complaint comes in.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
It's the same way it is now with the phone call.
Right.
So,
Is that the same with that? There was a tab somewhere, Sean, that said open complaint map. Was that on the back end or on the public?
yes, the open complaint map,
No.
yeah. this will actually show where the complaints are on a map. This one here is the one Sean just put in. We did some test complaints, and it will list, you will be able to map where the complaints are coming from. And that is whether it's open or closed.
But that's only internal, that view
Yes.
is only internal.
Yep. Any other questions?
No question.
And like we said, if you guys want something added to that, just email us and we can add it to the drop-down list. Again, we thought that those were our most common complaints, so that's what we started with. Okay?
All right.
I think that's great.
Again, we'll send out the link for you guys to register. Once you get that link, you have 48 hours, or else the window closes.
Yeah, I'll send it tomorrow sometime,
Yeah.
Tuesday.
So you guys are getting our emails.
I've already registered and
Yes.
checked mine out and browsed and looked around. So.
Yep. And if you want, go ahead and submit a complaint so you can get a feel for it. Just in the comments, just write, hey, it's Alderman Robinson.
Oh, there's enough legit ones out there. Someone will call me, I guarantee. So.
Okay. All right, good enough. So, you know, you guys feel free, check it out. You know, at no point will we not go out and investigate a complaint. We have to, so. All right, good enough?
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I know this is similar to in our property in Arizona. There's an app in Gilbert, the city of Gilbert, and it's very similar to this. You can download the app on your phone, and it literally, you put in your complaint, you add your comments, you add your photos, you hit submit, and then they update it, and it walks through. It basically gives you an update every so often on what's going on, and they let you know when it's completed. I know we had an issue where there was a vehicle parked the opposite way, and it looked like the car was just dumped off. We submitted a picture, put in a complaint, literally someone was there within 2 hours, the vehicle was taken care of. It was a nice system, makes it, you know, easier for everyone to put in their complaints. And I think once you get past, you know, the people that, you know, just gonna complain about anything, but you'll get legitimate, you know, people that have put in complaints to things that may have been missed or whatever, and they'll get taken care of. So, yeah, I really do appreciate this. I think this is gonna be money well spent here for the city.
I did have one more question, Dave. So, Dave, Anastasia asked about the windows or calls. Well, if somebody calls in, are you gonna put it into that system?
We can if you want us to.
We can, that's up to you guys. I mean, usually we just dump it in our iWork and go
Okay.
from there.
So I guess the question is that iWork system, when we log in to see, it'll only be for complaints through this portal. We don't see all of your complaints that you get.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so then if somebody calls one and you put it in the iWork, we won't see that one like these ones.
Right.
If that's how you want us to handle it, we could enter it in the citizen engagement thing. Instead of our,
We should be able to go back and forth at some point, yeah. At least put it on.
Is it
it's just a couple extra steps.
Is it won't autofill?
It auto-fills the complaint on our side once we export it to the code.
It won't go backwards, I'm saying, so if you put it on your side, it won't autofill back to this side, automatically back, okay.
All right, call.
Well, I see value in adding them in there because I think it gives you an opportunity to have some reports and have a comprehensive listing. And it seems pretty user-friendly, especially with the quick typing, as long as you're not ahead of the computer, right? You might need to talk to somebody about increasing the RAM or something, I don't know. But,
It's just-
so I think that, he's just fast?
Yeah.
So I think that it would make a lot of sense to put them all in there as a tracking mechanism.
And then we wouldn't need to receive the email from chief, if that's the case. That eliminates that extra burden that,
right, we already log all of our complaints just on our
Mhm.
enforcement side, not on the citizen complaint side. So if you want us to just log them on the citizen complaint side, that's fine.
I think then you don't have two systems and having to monitor it, you can pull reports out and hopefully down the road then be able to see, you know, ideally kind of where maybe some of the problem areas are and different things. I think there's lots of value.
yep.
to doing it that way.
I agree.
Okay. Cool. You can come back this week. Okay.
Anything else on that? All right, well, thank you very much, really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
That's probably the best thing I'm happy about for Olean right now, anyway.
Sign up tomorrow.
All right, approval of committee minutes, we have no reports, not minutes, reports, and I'll make a motion to adjourn, can I get a second?
Second.
Second McCall, all in favor? Opposed? Adjourn.
Okay. Should we do finance next?
I'm trying to get James.
Okay. Which one do we want to do next? Finance.
Greg's here.
Yeah, that's why I said finance, okay? So I'll call the finance committee meeting for Tuesday, May 20th. Let the record show that all aldermen are here that we have, with the exception of Panis. So approval of the minutes from the previous committee meeting, which was Tuesday, May 6th. I'll make a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Robinson. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Unfinished business, we have Marcus Park funding.
Not heard back from the county yet.
Yep, so we're still waiting on the county, and I have nothing else to add, so can we wait, instead of waiting another 2 weeks, can we just wait a month? Put this back on for another month. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, under new referrals for consideration, transfer of funds to Capital 244, demolition of unsafe buildings.
Dave?
Yes. We just wanna, there's, how much money is in the account?
So in the demolition of unsafe buildings, there's 17.5, and in our cleanup budget, there's 18.
You have to speak into the microphone.
So, in our cleanup budget, let me just turn this off. Still can't find anything. So in our cleanup budget, we have 18.5. The reason why there's that much in there is because we got a court judgment. Yes, it was a court judgment from an individual on a property on Second Street. That was 2 years in the making. 2 years in the making, so we got $25,000. So we want to add that to our demo account so that we have more money available to do demos. Now, we are not just going to go out and do demos. Obviously, if we're going to approve that much money, we're going to come to you guys and say, hey, can we do this? That's why we want both of them moved to a capital fund. It would still be in the demolition of unsafe buildings capital fund. The money's already there, we just want to move it so it's there when we need it. And I'm hoping at some point it gets used soon.
What's the 17.5 from?
17.5 is the initial money that's in the demolition of unsafe buildings.
In the 244? Or is it a line item now?
It's currently just a line.
Yeah, currently it's a line item.
Okay, so you want to take the two line items and create a capital fund, correct?
As a demolition of unsafe buildings capital.
Okay.
I believe there's already capital fund 244.
Just to move that total of
So
what
that
is
capital fund already
26,000,
exists.
Yeah.
Okay.
right? To move that 26,000 there.
That's,
Yeah.
Let's move the two line items into 244 that already exists.
We do like the capital fund. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Any discussion?
Just get referred to the next meeting.
Hmm?
yeah, we can explain.
Mhm. And actually, just so we don't lose hold, we do need to put back the one house back on, we have it under safety, the one on the road. So we do need to,
I think it was under public safety.
That was
Yeah.
not public safety.
yeah, can we put that back on, Tiffany, for, was it 316 Laurel, I think, just to,
Yeah.
because we were waiting on some information. Okay, any other? Okay. So, next we have the 2025-2026 budget and the tax levy. I'll let the mayor explain it. It came out that there was an issue with the amount that was billed out, and Mayor, I'll let you take that over.
We got Greg Gillis here, is going to explain everything.
Okay. So, as you said, there was a discrepancy in the percent of tax rate increase from last year. I'm not gonna speak about that in the budget because that's Len's, and I don't wanna speak for him, he's on vacation right now. All I'm gonna speak to you about is the tax bills and the tax levy. I gave you a handout sheet in front of you. And if you notice, that's the page 3 of your budget. You voted on the budget $19.8 million for the general fund. And in order to fund that budget, we needed to raise $8.5 million. Okay, and if you divide that into our assessed value, or taxable value, you get a tax rate of $17.90. So, if you look at tax bill on the next page, Dave, thank you, because it was just up on my screen, so I used yours. You see the total levy, which matches what's in the budget, the $8.5 million, okay? And then you see the tax rate over on the other side, which is the $17.90. Okay, what you see there in the percent change at 6.2. We know that's wrong for the increase in the tax rate. But what that change in percent actually reflects is the change in levy over the past year. If you look on the next page, I've highlighted the state law, real property tax law 922. It just states what we need to put in the tax bill. Okay? And then it says total amount of taxes levied for each taxing purpose and percentage increase or decrease in such amount relative to the preceding levy. So it's not the tax rate, it's the actual levy. Okay, so if you have any questions, I just wanted to
So, okay, so that's good, that's how we come up with that. The question though is, did it go out billed then as what people actually received as 7.13 versus the 6.2?
It was billed as 7.13.
Okay. Which is a 0.93% increase overage, so.
It was billed correctly. The only incorrect thing is the percentage that is located in the budget, 6.2 that's in the budget. That is not correct. That was calculated using the wrong tax rate from last year, but that's an auditor issue, and I don't want to answer for him because he's not here right now.
Yes.
I guess I'm confused because common council voted for a 6.2% tax increase. So since you're using my taxes as the example,
Yeah.
I actually paid 7.13% in taxes when I paid my bill. So I don't care what you say, I'm not putting you at fault or anything, but we gave a false perception to the public. We said we're gonna raise taxes 6.2%, but everybody across the city has got a tax bill that is 7.13%. Now, my taxes are relatively low compared to if you go to these businesses that pay much higher taxes than I do, or if you go up to Seneca Heights or Stardust Lane. So there's a problem here somewhere where we said taxes were gonna go up 6.2, but in actuality, the bills to prove, it went up 7.13%. So these people that have already paid and that are going to pay deserve to get a refund back.
I will say,
and this is just my opinion, you guys can think otherwise, you probably do. You voted on a $19.8 million general fund budget. Everything in this budget, except for the tax rate increase, which was miscalculated, is correct. Every line item is correct, every number is correct, the taxable value is correct, the levy is correct, the tax rate is correct, everything else is correct.
So the
Do
problem
what you
is,
want. I mean, I'm just telling you what happened and what the numbers are.
so I get it, but we actually voted on, it is not our job to calculate out the tax percentage. It is our expectation as the council that we will get accurate information, and this is not the only time. You know, we have had multiple errors over this past year, and this is not at you, Greg, but rather, I mean, you know, we were $1 million behind because of sales tax. We had $700,000 that wasn't put in because we didn't include the health insurance payout. I mean, it is truly not our job to micromanage the budget. And as far as I am concerned, we told the public in good faith that there was a 6.2% increase. And so what appears to be is that we have the accurate amount for what the budget is. However, we had no idea that it was 7.13%. And I don't think that any of us would have voted on that 7.13% for those of us who did vote on it. So I think, and what I had asked was, okay, what's the corrective action plan to fix this? Because the public believes that they are paying a 6.2% tax increase. So I guess that's where we're at. What is the corrective action plan? Because now we have a budget, as we move into it, that we're already behind it. Because at 6.2%, we're not going to make that 19,884,000, the 29. We're not gonna make that, we're gonna fall short of that before we even go into the budget.
No, you're gonna make that with the tax rate of $17.90. It's just the percentage is wrong. The percentage, and not, the percentage means something, don't get me wrong. And I'm just speaking as far as, in the grand scheme of my job, the percentage doesn't mean it's a dummy number to my office. Because
Right.
all the hard numbers are what we calculate everything on. We don't pay attention to that percentage. It's the levy, the full assessed value, or not the full, but the taxable value, and the percent, and not the percent, but the taxable.
So I'm getting your part is correct.
Yeah, no.
So I hear that. What I'm saying is, the information we were provided and what we voted on was not 7.13%.
That's correct. It was.
So that needs to be
no,
correct.
it was 7.1. The tax bill is 7.13%. That's correct. The budget is 7.13%, but it doesn't say that in here. It should say 7.13.
And the letter the mayor sent to us on April 10th says the general budget calls for a 6.2% property increase to our taxpayers.
Because it was miscalculated from using the improper tax rate from last year, yes.
Well, that's a huge mistake.
So who's gonna be held accountable for this mistake? Is it it's obviously not your office, so it has to be the auditor's office. We have independent auditors. Why in the hell wasn't this caught?
Well, it wouldn't go to the independent auditors yet, so.
That would be at the end of the year.
That after everything's done, that goes to the independent auditor. The independent auditors are doing last year's right now, if that helps.
I mean, and it's not the only issue that we actually have with this budget before we actually implement it. You know, I had asked one of the other aldermen to review some information that we got on May 11th, and there's issues with the debt service, the budget not matching up, the general fund, and so we ran those numbers, and there are discrepancies in there. You know,
So, not to
well,
interject, but I mean, to me, it sounds like what we did is we unknowingly committed fraud. Because we told the public, and the public thinks that we're passing a 6.2% budget. Unbeknownst to us, it came out to be a 7.13%. So, I mean, that's deception as far as I can see. So how are we gonna fix this to the public? And do we need to call Albany, the state controller, to have him come down here and do a complete audit of our books? I mean, Mayor, this is a big problem.
It is, it's a $71,000 problem. That's what the additional, if it goes back to 6.2, there's $71,000 involved here.
That's it, 71,000?
Yes.
Well, you said what? Historically, Dave, you said to us 1% equals 70,000 or something like that.
It doesn't matter if it's 71,000, it matters the mistake that somebody accepts accountability, that this corrective action plan put in place. It doesn't matter if it's $10,000, it's a mistake, there's other mistakes, there's been other mistakes. Independent audits have been in their comments about training, ongoing training, you know, we don't know where that line items have ever been increased. So it's not about 70,000, it's about the mistake. So, again, I'll echo Sonia's not your office, it's just, if it was 6.2, the conversation was 6.2, there's no we, you're talking about like, well, we didn't do anything. There was a conversation at this table that some of us voted in favor of 6.2. So that's where the we ends. From that, it's implementation, and that's no longer we. That's not on this table, that's for somebody else to fix.
And I think that's where we asked that a corrective action plan be put in place. And it sounds like what I'm hearing from the aldermen who've spoken, that it would be our expectation that it would be corrected to bring it down to the 6.2%.
I think it's only fair to ask the mayor what his thoughts are.
Absolutely.
Well, there's two ways we can correct this, and one would be modify the budget to take it up to 7.13, where it actually is right now. Or, I'm not sure if we're gonna have to reissue new tax notes. We may have to redo the budget, to get an opinion from the comptroller's office.
So, and
Just as a follow-up, Sonia,
Mhm.
those that would have paid already, would that also mean potentially refunds for those who have either escrowed or paid already?
Yes.
you know, and I've had a few people think and tell me they believe that it was duplicitous on our part, on the city's part, and, you know, I think it goes back to the city making it correct, and fixing it. I don't know what everybody else's view is. Alderman Roberts.
I'm ready to share my opinion on this. There is a $72,000 discrepancy. One, as already mentioned, we need to identify the problem. Two, we need to set some type of corrective action. Three, we need to fix it. I don't think we need to take the budget up to 7.12. That will require a revote, and I'm almost guaranteeing it's gonna be a no. We all did reluctantly vote on 6.2, and that's where we need to make this budget go down to. By any means, whatever it takes, that's what the budget needs to get down to. That's my belief. And then we need to correct the issue that we have with those that have already paid by reimbursement, whatever it means. If the city needs to eat the costs on the paperwork, the man hours, and so forth, so be it. I think it's warranted. That is the cost of an error. So with that comes part of the fixing the problem will come more training, parameters put in place to ensure that this doesn't happen again. And of all things, try to find some type of software other than Excel where we cannot delete cells out and get this corrected. That's just where I stand on this one.
Jen?
Oh yeah, I was just saying, I agree that we cannot make the residents pay for the, mistake on our part. We stood up here, we justify the increase in taxes and asking them to pay more because there was an error. And, I mean, sending out new tax bills is a small, cost, or refunding residents who already paid. You know, we are put here to, people trust in us, and we make those decisions, and I just think, you know, we have to own up and do what's right.
I've got a question. Do you have your office sends out the tax bills?
That's correct.
Do you have a cost, estimated cost of that?
If we're gonna do full, it's probably gonna be postage, we're looking at about 3,300. I don't think we have enough tax bill back, but we can print those out. We might have enough paper, because we have perforated paper
So
downstairs.
roughly
It-
3,000, 3 to 4,000.
Yeah, I mean, no, I gotta get more out of it still, so that's about 700. So
4 to 5.
4 or 5.
I mean, there is a real cost to it, so I just, right?
Well, I agree.
I just want us to be able to understand what that looks like.
So for me, that means that that's a $75,000 mistake.
Right.
Jen,
Exactly.
did you have something else?
No, I mean, I know that there's a cost, but again, that shouldn't go to the residents.
Agreed.
I just was gonna, kind of, the mayor mentioned two options. The first option of amending the budget to 7.13 is completely unacceptable. It's correct the mistake. There's been other mistakes that, we've ate, previous, like, verbal quotes on things that then came back high, and we just ate that too. Like, you can't keep eating mistakes that are fed to us. It's time to correct it. Greg, do you have to send an updated tax bill to everybody? I'm asking, or can you handle the ones that are in and then issue some type of thing on the blanket statements when they come in to pay their taxes, they're just gonna pay less, something in-house where you don't have to mail everything out?
That I don't know. I don't know how we work that.
I'm just asking because, like you said, it's a
No,
$75,000 mistake.
Trust
It's still going back to the public. It's still coming out of
I don't wanna set
public
up
money,
tax bills again, so
So I was wondering
I'm
if there's a
trying
way
to
to
think
cheat.
about way
to
to
do
do
it.
it myself.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a way to refund the people that have already paid. Most people don't pay right away. So right now, we're still in a point where the majority of people have not paid yet. Do we do something like a reverse omitted tax, where if we have an omitted tax where if someone sells their house and they had exemptions on it, the new owner doesn't have the exemptions anymore, and there's an omitted tax generated that is built onto the next year's tax bill? Is it a credit that goes on the next year's tax bill, something like that? I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I just didn't know about the notification. You send the tax, just a
if
blanket thing. If I
I'm
come in and I
gonna
gotta
guess-
pay $1,000, and you tell me $900, I'm just gonna be excited I'm paying less money.
I'm gonna guess that if I send one out, you're gonna have to send them all.
What's the turnaround time on that?
That's
Yeah, I mean, just, is it a week, is it a day process to print all of those? Is it a week process?
we can, Jerry's on vacation, but I can call him in tomorrow and we can work on it maybe, or I can actually have him do remotely, the file and I can print it out. And then it takes us, I can fast track it, it takes a couple of days after that to get them all processed and envelopes.
So, in thinking about this, I think we need to put something out to tell people, like, we've already paid our taxes. So to put something out to tell people, stop paying your taxes because, hang on. And then there's gonna be a delay because we have what, a month to pay?
Yeah, I mean, we might have to.
So what will that do for
We
cash?
might have to do like a delay in the actual schedule.
Right, because we don't want people to be penalized then.
Right, the school district did that when they had an equalization problem, they sent out new bills, and they had a delay in
The deadline, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to make sure.
What we would do is probably push that, we can't push don't think we can push the last deadline, the October 31st deadline,
Yeah.
because then we have to send that to the county for collection too.
Can
So-
we
No,
push
but
the initial deadline to?
Yeah, the initial one.
Right.
We can push it back a month. We did that during COVID, if you remember. We pushed back the
Yes.
COVID
Yes,
one, I think, 1 or 2 months.
yes, we did.
So we could put it towards, at the end of June.
No penalty in June, and then
No
Yeah,
penalty.
we
for
could
June.
even do that, just no penalty whatsoever, and then roll into the penalties once July hits.
Yeah, so I think that's the, obviously, we don't instruct, the administration, but we're giving our guidance here, what the council feels comfortable. I agree with everyone else. We need to correct this, and I think time is of the essence, so if we can, whatever the quickest turnaround time is to get the word out to the public, that, the school district had to reissue their bills. I think that's a necessity here, that we reissue the bill, that we, don't penalize anyone, for if payment is extended, through June. And as everyone else has stated, I'm not gonna lie, it's frustrating, to hear of mistakes. We don't want mistakes. The difference is when you have mistakes in the public eye, you're constantly under a microscope. Mistakes that happen, in private industry, you can fix those, and I'm sure those happen too, but, these mistakes, need to have corrective actions. We say this every year, and, we still run into so many of these. They're, I don't wanna call them immaterial, they're material. But this one needs to get rectified, and I think time is of the essence. I think we wanna get it done, make sure it's correct, and get it done and reissued quickly. That's my thought.
Alderman Robinson.
I've heard some suggestions for it, as far as, repayment or reimbursement to those that have already paid. I particularly have paid mine too, but I'm not looking for a quick recovery. There are people that are probably looking for a fast recovery of their money. What were the suggestions on that? Because I'd be opposed to applying a credit to the next year, because if the city, I wouldn't trust it. It's just as simple as that. I wouldn't trust that someone's gonna hold one of my money in this city until the following
Yeah,
year.
I understand. I was just throwing out an idea, because I know that's an option. Like you guys, I'm looking for any option possible.
Any options?
Any option beside, I'll do what you guys want, but last thing I wanna do is send out tax bills again. But if I have to, I will, get those out there.
Well, I think we're not gonna vote for a 7.13. And collectively, that's what it sounds like to me anyways. And so I guess, reissuing tax bills and then figuring out how to, reimburse those that are above, because we did vote on it. And, I think the other issue is,
As far as last Wednesday, when I paid my tax bill, I talked to Frank Caputo. There was 200 people that have already paid.
well, 3 of us are here.
As of last Wednesday. But I was just thinking too, this mistake was made and caught. Thank God it was caught. How do we know that there wasn't mistakes in prior years?
Stirring up a hornet's nest now.
Do we have to go back to our prior year's bills, like 5 years from now, or 5 years ago, and say, all right, my tax bill was wrong? I just wonder, how do we know this mistake hasn't happened in the past? It seems like we're always putting wrong numbers in places.
Oh, no, I had a thought, but it's fine. But Dave,
No,
go ahead. No.
I was just wondering how.
Well, I'll just jump in on that one, because I believe that there's a reason why we have yearly audits. So if there was an issue with previous years, I would think that the people that we're paying to do our audits would have caught that. And we pay them a significant amount of money. So if that was missed in previous years, then that would definitely be an issue that the city would have with them. As already mentioned with this one, this would not have been caught by an auditor until, September or December. So, that pretty much answers that. But it is a problem, it's a major problem that I believe in, and I think, regardless of what it costs the city to get it corrected, I think we need to reissue bills, put out a statement to everyone, wait to pay, allow people to, get by with the, no penalty until whatever, June or July, whichever time frame. In my eyes, it's a, you know, small price to pay for the, issue there. And then hopefully it doesn't happen again, and try to get the refunds back to people promptly.
So I would change that from hopefully it doesn't happen again to the expectation is that it will not happen
Should
again.
never, yeah.
And so we have to look to, is there training that needs to happen? What needs to happen so that these errors stop? And we have a list of issues regarding the debt service and such that myself and one of the other aldermen had looked at, that there are some errors and that need to be reviewed, and a corrective action plan and updates come back to the city on it, because there's pieces of the budget that don't match up in our final version. And Greg, thank you. I appreciate that it is difficult. Nobody wants to come in to kind of, but I get that what you did was accurate based on the information you had.
And I just want to say, it was, the difference is 14 cents per thousand, so that, I mean, it gives you an idea of.
It does, but it's still a trust.
No, I agree.
Right, it's a trust issue for the public, and I think there's a misperception that we implement the budget, not just vote on the budget, and then it's in the hands of the mayor and his staff, and I think there's a misperception. So I want to make sure that we're clear about what our role is, and our, you know, I think each one of us want to retain the trust of those that we come here each week and try to serve. So, thank you. Any other, Mayor, any other comments? Or?
I think probably a resolution for next Tuesday authorizing us to issue the tax bills and make refunds. In the meantime, we'll get everything prepared to go that route.
That should give me enough time. I probably won't get envelopes with my, you know, the assessor's office on there in time for that, but I can just do blank ones.
And in that same resolution, can you put to delay this penalty schedule by 1 month?
And can we,
I just
get something up that says stop paying city bill? I mean, I'm trying to think of,
We
so
could
that
have the clerk's office actually not take any more payment. And until.
I mean, that's our recommendation, I think. I mean, up to
Mayor,
you, Mayor. But,
What was the question?
is, you know, that versus people continuing, residents continuing to pay, I mean, is there a way to kind of say, hold on this till we get you the accurate bill, so we're not having to
We could put a sign up in the clerk's office, we could put it in a press release, we could put it out on social media.
Okay, thank you. Any other?
Sonny, were you going to discuss that email that you sent?
I did, and that's what I was asking the mayor in terms of the debt service and the general fund not matching up. And then there was one other thing, and I need to go back and ask Len. I had asked him for the last 3 years to give us kind of a breakdown of the general fund balance, what had been added and taken out, so that we can get a look at that, because we've gone from about 3.3 million down to, you know, like $1 million in 4 years, and in different of the fund balances. So I'll reissue that email and ask Lenz to, because I'd asked for it around budget time and hadn't received it, so I'll go back and revisit that.
Do we have, when is Len's due back from vacation? Monday?
We'll work on this.
So I'm just, you know, is there, Tuesday might be too difficult to expect a presentation Tuesday night to us, but at some point, I think it would be worth having Len's explain those two, you know, issues to the council during the meeting. So whether, I don't know the feasibility of having that done by Tuesday for our meeting. If not, because of June summer hours, we'll have to look at the second Tuesday in June.
But we can certainly have an email report.
Well, they can give us an email, absolutely,
Yeah.
but I also think
And then
that,
a presentation.
I think that,
Yeah.
I think discussion, for the public's sake would be beneficial too.
I'm not sure if I'm gonna need a resolution or a new budget passed to issue tax bills with the new rate. That's something we might have to ask Bridget about.
Okay,
So that's just something to think about.
Good
before we
point.
get here. I don't know if you guys need to vote on something before I can actually issue a new tax warrant.
That's what-
You
can print them up and not issue.
No, I can print them up, get everything ready, but
Right.
until you guys actually do that, I don't think I can.
That'll be next Tuesday
Yeah.
night, to be a resolution authorizing the
Yeah, like I said, I'll get everything
Reissuing of tax
prepared and ready to
bills.
go, but
with the,
because what you were saying is because we have a discrepancy between the total tax amount and the 6.2%.
yeah, budget's gonna have to change, so I can't issue new tax bills without the budget changing.
we'll find $71,000 and it's reduced it by,
Okay.
that's what we have to do.
And then do we need to, because then the city budget itself will.
That's what I mean, the city budget itself is
Do we
gonna
not
change.
have to, do we have to go back and,
Oh, so
vote?
you're saying we're gonna find 70,000, so we're not actually gonna change the budget, 'cause-
or we're gonna
No, no,
change the
this-
total
We're
amount?
gonna have to change the tax rate, because the tax rate doesn't match the percentage rate.
Right.
So, yeah, so the budget's gonna have to change regardless. And then, so we're gonna need that before I can actually send out the bills.
Okay, so that might,
Simon,
yes,
I guess I'm just confused why, if they voted on rate, like why you need PL and just send out the correct bill?
Because-
The budget can be changed, the numbers can be changed on that later, I mean, there was a,
No,
What was-
because I'll be sending out a new tax bill with a new tax rate.
and the total of the taxes on
Right.
there,
So
And we
the
won't have
levy's
that.
gonna change, the tax rate's gonna change.
This is gonna change.
yeah.
And so, in order to do that, I need the ability from you guys to do that. I
Yeah.
can't just go out and send a tax bill out without the budget changing, actually.
Yeah,
I need authorization for
I'll
that.
try to have that already by Tuesday.
because will we need to then vote on the total budget, because the total budget will be decreased by 71,000?
You'll have to, be a vote to amend 25-26 budget.
Okay, and then you'll be.
And then with the new
that.
tax rate, and then I can send out the bills, yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
that'll be next, for next Tuesday.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, the first line on the general fund, that will be reduced by $75,000.
Well, 71.
It's like around 71.
Sign it, so then shouldn't the penalty phase then be moved out 2 months? The penalty phase needs to be moved out 2 months, because if you vote on it on Tuesday, which is the 27th, by the time that it takes them to produce them and send them out, you're looking at, it's like about 2 weeks, you're pushing 6 weeks, so that penalty phase should be
And
moved
then, well, and
at
this
0% out 2 months.
this reduces.
Okay, so the question, Greg, is, so it looks like it'll be maybe even 6 weeks before everything actually goes out, is kind of what JR is saying, and if that's the case, by the time we vote on it, everything.
Not to take you 6 weeks.
No.
It'll be, the corrected stuff will go out 6 weeks from the original
Oh, yeah.
stuff, so
Okay.
that's why I'm saying the penalty
Yeah,
phase
it's
should
not
go
gonna take me
out.
6 weeks.
No, not to take you 6 weeks. From the time they get the new bill in hand, it will be 6 weeks from the original start date. Therefore, that penalty phase should be adjusted to reflect that same timeline.
I
So,
would agree.
so then just move it up 2 months, so
Yes.
June and July should be no penalty assessed. Bill? Bill?
Okay. Any other discussion?
Just to confirm, if we're doing that for June, July, then August will be the no penalty, and then September will be the 1%.
No, August would be,
August will be the 1%,
yep.
and then September will be the 2. Okay.
But
And
Greg,
then it's gonna have to bump up to 5 in October, because Greg's already.
So 1, 2, and 5.
Greg said we can't change the end.
Can I just ask, I mean, if we're giving no penalty for June and July,
If I said that.
do we have to start, is there anything that says that we have to start at 1%? I mean, if you haven't paid by August, can you go with, just leave the 3, 4, and 5, or no?
I don't know. I have to look into that.
It's a fair
Is there a
question.
rule?
I mean,
there's a rule that says that I have to put the schedule on the tax bill, but it doesn't say what the schedule has to be, so I'll have to look. I know you can't waive penalties for, like, not for the whole, if we not like this, but you can't just pick and choose and waive penalties for certain people and stuff like that.
I
But I
would
don't know
not,
if you have to do a certain schedule, I don't know if you have to do 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, I'll look into that.
yeah, so, I mean, but I'm not opposed to leaving 3, 4, 5 either. So, yeah, if you look into that.
I'll look in and then whatever you guys decide you wanna do, we'll do.
Oh, that was your, you gotta be careful there.
Well,
No, I appreciate
No,
that.
going back on that, that's great, but the first two,
Yeah.
June and July should be.
those are, yes, those are gonna be
Yeah.
gone. And then whatever schedule you guys wanna do from there on, we can handle that.
Yes, as long as we know that that is appropriate, and there's not a rule that says we
Yeah,
can't.
we'll make sure it's appropriate and we can do it.
Perfect.
So just, so I know, May 27th, we're gonna have a resolution, we're all gonna vote on correcting this problem.
To correct the budget amount, because, correct me
Everything
if
will
I'm
be
wrong.
put the way it was supposed to be. They
On
just
May
have to
27th.
change some numbers in them.
You could vote no now.
Yeah,
This
probably
just
will.
will give you a separate-
No,
second.
they're just voting to change the numbers to reflect the accurate numbers, and that's all. And then everything
Just
else
to
will be corrected, you'll get your correct tax.
6.2%.
Authorize us to send out new tax bills and.
So the tax rate will reduce by 14 cents, basically. That's what's gonna happen.
Okay?
You got all that, Tiffany?
I think so.
We can talk.
You have audio,
We
right?
can look at-
We can watch the video.
I have, wait, you should have more.
I said we'll have much more. Like, this week.
So then are you, this on for the, you said because we're going December, never mind. Leaving it on for the lens on the other part.
Yeah.
Yes, because I think we still need to
Summer.
have a review.
They should start in March, anyway.
First committee, finance committee meeting in June, was during the budget, we have a discussion of audit corrective action plan as well.
Oh, perfect.
Second Tuesday in June. Okay.
Yes,
So does that mean officially June, July, August,
Yeah.
second, fourth Tuesdays only?
Yeah.
yes, because we had set that up to be able to give quarterly, was it a quarterly kind of report on the corrective action?
I think it was after the audit, I think the council discussed wanting to know, give it some time to know what we're doing to
Yeah.
fix the audit findings.
Yes.
And so it's like an update on that.
Are you done with this one?
Yep.
I just want to subtract it down here, please standing there waiting to see if you're done with it.
Okay, if
As you
we're
guys
good.
digress.
Well, we want Greg to be able to leave. So, committee reports, we have none. I make a motion to,
Real quick, I wanted to just follow up, because Dave did bring up a point. I've seen or heard some people ask questions about that. Mayor, do we still have New York State Comptroller's Office here?
We do.
Okay. So if you have, in between your, concerns, you wanna talk to the, to the Comptroller's Office, they are actually here doing a full audit of our books.
That's great. He did call me about 2 months ago, Mayor. I didn't know you were still
They're
here, but he said he was gonna call me when he was done with his audit to go over it with us. I asked him to go over it with us as a group, but he said because of, some laws, he can't do that, and he could meet with us individually. And I was just wondering, please have him give me a call. I would love to meet the guy. When
Do
he's
we have
done.
any updates on the timeline of this work? No.
I think they moved in permanently.
Yeah. So,
Well, I'm glad he's here. That's good, that's good news.
there's a team of them, there's 2 or 3 of them. Just wanted to make sure that
No,
that's
perfect.
well known. I've had some people, inquire. Comptroller's office has been here for the last 4 months.
At least 4 months now, yeah.
Thank you.
well, we're drumming up business for the restaurants and, okay, now committee reports, none. I make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Alderman Anastasia. All in favor? Opposed? All right.
Juju.
All right, so, I'll call to order strategic planning. for Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Let the record show that all aldermen are present. For the record, Alderman Panis has turned in his letter of resignation. And so Chairman Panis is no more. All right. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous committee meeting. Could I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderwoman Forney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Unfinished council business. We have a request for the city garage long-term strategic plan. I think collectively, whether this came up in the budget conversation, but collectively as a council, we would like to at least kick this conversation off. Obviously, we have a new DPW director. Bring him up to speed on this, and don't expect to hear the full plan or anything like that, but what are the steps that we need to start to look forward to, and anyways, this was, do you have anything, Mr. Mayor?
I don't know if, James,
Have you had any time, James, to look into this?
He's getting up, John, this was with the salt shed one originally, and this just got referred over to this committee to kind of be there while he got settled, and
Okay.
then did that.
So
That's why it ended up here, it came from city ops originally.
It evolved from the salt shed discussion,
A
right?
two-part discussion, we referred this half of the conversation to strategic planning.
And maybe we're not ready to have any conversation
Well-
about this as you just joined, but in the couple of weeks you've been here, have you been brought up to speed on the condition of the city garage?
I have, I met with Ray Smith, our parts and service manager. I don't think that's actually a civil service title here, but, and I spent an hour or more with Ray. He walked me through the entire facility, on the site. And I've had conversations with multiple other people about it, so I'm pretty much up to speed, on the initial conclusion that the facility we have is not sufficient. And I would offer that the site we have is not sufficient. So, it's,
Captain Bauer?
I have an engineer's report that's done in 2021.
okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I do think, just to kind of piggyback off that, and I'm sure Captain Bauer could probably concur, I think if that was a business, I think probably much of it wouldn't pass code. I think there's a significant amount of potential dangers and issues structurally from a safety perspective. So although there's nothing beautiful necessarily about a city garage, it is what keeps everything that we do going, and we want to definitely make this a high priority. I know it is a part, high priority on the comprehensive plan, and so I'd like to give you some time, James, to maybe read if Captain Bauer can share that report, to read up on that, and we would like to ask you to perhaps even, are there some immediate needs that we can tackle in this next fiscal year, and then have certainly the larger conversation, probably hiring an engineer to look at what is the long-term solution. Is it site remediation? You don't think that site is probably suitable for what our needs are going into the future? So then, what are those needs? We need to start having those conversations now. We need to start looking for grants, and maybe five or 6 years from now, we can try to make something happen. Alderwoman McCall?
So I'm in agreement. I think since I've been on the council, it's been an issue, so I appreciate the attention to it, because we've certainly asked for kind of a, bring your plan to the council, and so we appreciate your attention to it. I would encourage us to be creative as we look forward to see if there are opportunities for, like a shared building with, whether it be the county or the school or something, because we understand that the cost to this will be large, and the taxpayers, so I appreciate looking for grants, but I think sometimes thinking outside of the box and seeing if there are opportunities. You know, a lot of communities are having shared services now to see if there's something we could do with that. So I just want to tell you, I appreciate your taking the time to go look at it and to make it a priority.
Alderman Robinson, did you?
She touched on those points that I was going to mention, so, thank you.
She's looking over your shoulder.
He doesn't have his cheat notes today, though.
Any other comments
I have it.
on this topic? Mr. Mayor, are you good? Okay, I thought you were raising your hand.
It's itching my head.
Okay. So how about, what would be a suitable amount of time, James, to kind of, I know you're being thrown into everything here, maybe July? Could we touch base some point in July?
Yeah, I honestly would, that's probably good. I would rather get into it sooner rather than later. Excuse me, having been through a similar exercise with the city of Canandaigua, which led to a major renovation, not a replacement. It's, the front end time is lengthy. So, within this fiscal year, you know, if we can get some design professionals working on it, that would be the first thing we're gonna have to do anyways to move the project forward. And if, you know, by July, I will have had time to really convene my staff and push them to really think about what our needs are. So I would say, yeah, in July, I can give you an update that we can start talking about what we need to do next.
Alderman Bennett?
And James, that, when you meet with your staff, that'll also include the conversation of whether it stays there or goes to another location?
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at that, compared that to, I've looked at our location here. I've compared it to the two communities I've worked in previously and other communities I'm familiar with. We have about 1.5 acres where the city garage is now. I'm confident already, I can tell you that we need to be looking at least 6 and maybe 8 in order to put it all together in one spot, which is one of the items about thinking out of the box. Maybe it doesn't get to all go together in one spot. You know, like we have a reasonable spot next to Bradner Stadium that the Parks Group and electricians work out of. You know, there's arguments of synergy amongst the crews if we can get them all in one building, but at the same time, that's going to jack the cost. So we'll, I think there's going to have to be a lot of conversations about that and how we find, you know, the sweet spot for new location versus.
And even if you just were to rebuild the needs of just whose house there now, it's probably not big enough.
No, it's not.
And that was the point too, is that that's also valuable city center land that could then be developed.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I have found, in some document, and I can't even tell you what I was reading, but it came out of the DRI. Our city garage site is labeled as to be redeveloped for multi-use or residential purposes. So there may be a higher and better use of that 1.5 acres than the city garage.
Or we just roll over into Big Lots. Big Lots is available now. So
Yeah.
Right next door.
I don't think it's big enough.
No? All right, fair.
It's in the name.
So,
It's big enough. It's in the
how about,
name.
can we get that on the agenda
Big
for, how about second week in July? That sound good? Have a follow-up conversation, give you an opportunity to talk to, a variety of, you know, obviously, the administration, and, at least outline some of the steps and potentially some of the potential costs of what an engineering firm would look like. Those things don't come cheap. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we just want to kick this off with an outside-of-the-box thinking. I think it's really reassuring to hear that you've dealt with similar revamps in your past life, so I look forward to that conversation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Alderman Anastasia.
When we talked about this probably a year or two ago, didn't, I'm just trying to recollect, didn't we ask the mayor to reach out to the school district to see if they wanted to consolidate with us? And I was just wondering what their answer was. I don't remember what it was.
Actually, we talked about that, I think, when it first brought up the county.
We never put a meeting together on that.
And, you know, to your point, Dave, is the better part of 9 years, and I don't even know, like, 5 DPW directors, this has been something we've talked about, right? And when you're in a house that's breaking down all around you, you put out the fires that are immediate, right? And it's just like that wall, the water filtration plant. Is that getting remedied, by the way?
No,
The federal money that Langworthy got for us and all that?
we had to reapply for it. So it was, went through Congress, but it never got through the complete budget. So that's washed away. Now we got to, not literally, but, so we reapplied for that funding again.
Was that the one we had the announcement on?
Yeah, that was a big announcement,
They bring the big check and
and they take it back.
I was like, didn't we have a?
So,
That was last year, it was a Russian year for them.
Yeah.
Come down with $1 million, and every one you take it back.
Publishers Clearinghouse. So anyways, yes, Dave, I mean, we all do a lot of talking, but this is a really critical issue, probably one of the most critical at this point, so.
I agree with you, and I would probably vote yes on this one.
Now, when you see the price tag,
Well, and we've talked about the safety of of this
100%.
city staff too, so.
I mean, I know we've had, JR and I have had brainstorming, discussions on, the feasibility of having combined services, whether it's with other municipalities or even, a shared, fire trucks are big, obviously it's a huge structure, but we know our fire stations are in poor condition too, or not as bad as the city garage, but,
And packed to the gills.
what's that?
And packed to the gills.
Impact to the gills, right? But I mean, if you found a place that has 8 acres and one half of it is, you got a bunch of bays and one half is a fire station and the other half is a city garage, so anyways, all right, I digress. Anything further on that conversation? All right, new referrals for consideration, highway advertising signs. Who is this? Mr. Mayor?
I have some notes from Carrie here.
Okay.
So, March and April, she contacted the DOT office right away and left voicemails. Finally gave a response and directed to contact our regional real estate office. That's DOT's real estate office. On April 16th, DOT provided high-level overview of information, including the agreement of consent to erect and maintain an advertising sign and outdoor advertising application and permit forms. Municipalities typically do not apply. This is the responsibility and desire of businesses to apply. DOT Office of Right-of-Way provided an application for directional signage along with special sign provisions and logo service signs on highways and expressways. There are 5 categories, and I can provide you with these notes. Gas. The business has to operate 16 hours a day and 7 days a week. Food, operates 6 days a week, 3 meals a day, public phone. Lodging, licensed public phone within 6 miles of ramp. Camping, licensed modern sanitary facilities and drinking water within 12 miles of ramp. Attractions provide amusement, historical, cultural, or leisure activities, adequate parking, restrooms, drinking water located within 15 miles of ramp. Permittee, should be us, is responsible for furnishing and installing the logos, blazer signs if applicable. If there is already an established backer board, the city would be responsible for reimbursing each company for their portion of the cost. City can only have 3 backer boards, 18 total businesses. Responsible for sign creation, construction, installation by contractor. Required a PE stand plans for review prior to DOT approval. DOT charges $100 per year for each sign. Ramp sign is included in the $100. Laser signs is required and the cost is an additional $50 a year. So in essence, they're saying that the entire bill with these signs up would be on the city. So I had a question to Carrie, well, what about all the ones that are up now that you see? So we've got to get back with them and say, like, did the village or did the town of Allegheny pay for those signs out there? Or did the state put them up or what? So we had an opinion for Bridget. She does not think we should be paying for private businesses' signs out there. That could be construed as a form of gifting. So there's still some work to do on these and see exactly what your desire is. The other thing is, there's only 6, what did she say? 18 total businesses. So what do we do? How do we determine which businesses are gonna go on? How do we determine if we get 24 businesses, we can only put 18 on these backer boards. So we can still have some homework to do. That gives you an idea what is entailed to try to get signage out there.
Can't businesses collaborate together to pay for the cost of the sign?
And they can do, businesses can get, they can now get a hold of DOT and get signs on the highway.
Yeah, so I know in my previous life,
But it has to, but it has to fall within the
right,
highway express, the 5 categories.
right, so let's say we're talking about Allegheny, and you have the hotels, and you have Applebee's, or whatever. They could all come together to pay for that DOT sign, and then I think when we talked about the bed tax fund, we could supplement some of that to help cover the cost, because I think that's the purpose of, some of those things, the purpose could be for the bed tax funds, right? So we're not paying for all of it, and we're not taking it, but we're giving back that bed tax that they're paying to reinvest in the directionals on highway. I mean, that's the purpose of that occupancy tax.
I think if I understand that correctly, as long as there is is there a base fee to have the billboard, but not necessarily the license? We can't sponsor an individual business, is what you're saying. So
Right,
we
but
can-
I think they can all go together to get, with DOT to get the sign, to the backer
Agreed.
and all of that, and then they obviously, then they pay that $50 a year.
So then what does our bed tax pay?
Well, to supplement some of that cost, but that bed tax was collected to reinvest in economic development and directionals and bringing people into this city, that's part of economic development. So it's reinvesting in their marketing,
We
ideally.
need to do some more research on this. We didn't get a price, because you have to go to the listed contractors that are listed and find out what it's gonna cost for that, to put them up on the highway and get all the permits and everything. So, she did not do that. We can check on the cost of these things. And we need to do some more investigation on this.
I'm looking at a good subcommittee topic.
It does. Are you volunteering?
No.
You're volunteering?
Yeah.
Look at that.
So,
Tiffany, if you've ultimately been
No, actually, no, I was saying
volunteered to
Jen
start a
was.
subcommittee, and he and John are gonna be on the with the mayor.
John,
Yes.
I was gonna say-
Alderwoman McCall.
so one, I appreciate the information, although I guess I will reiterate that receiving stuff the same day makes it really difficult to read it, digest, because between Allegheny and Cattaraugus County, there's lots of dead zones, and I don't have time to necessarily read things the same day as it comes in, so anything that can come in sooner, I truly appreciate. Having said that, though, I have talked to probably almost all the businesses, regularly in Ward 4 for the most part, and particularly our downtown ones. When I first came on Alderman, I had gone to the chamber and I said, hey, why are there no signs on 86 about what services and what stores we have and stuff? So didn't quite go anywhere, and then we kind of brought it up here, and then Alderman Robinson sent out an email. So I think this is great, and a number of the stores downtown were really interested, and we had actually talked about, was there a way for them to kind of go together and do this? You know, I certainly recognize the piece about favoritism, but I also potentially perceived as. But I also think that we need to reinvest in our businesses and our downtown, and show them that that we support them. And so finding a way, so I appreciate going forward, having additional information so that businesses can be informed and know what maybe some of the options are too. And if there was a subcommittee, I'm hearing that Jen and I would love to be on it.
Love it.
With JR, there's three.
Well-
Actually, just real quick, because if you look at the members of this, well, that's right, Alderman Benny's not listed. Have a good day.
Tiffany, what did I tell you before this?
Oh, aren't we missing one?
Oh,
Vacancy.
strategic
We have a
planning,
vacancy.
for the record, strategic planning members are changing.
Yeah. we have a
Chairman
vacancy.
is Alderman Crawford, vice chair is Alderman Forney, and we
What?
are adding Alderman Benyon. And Alderman Robinson are some committee.
Dave's on nothing.
Sorry, Dave.
Dave's on nothing. Guy sleeps in.
Alderman Forney.
Yeah, I just wanna say, again, in my experience, in a leadership role in the hotels in this area, we specifically, requested funds from the Chamber of Commerce, the bed tax or whatever, occupancy tax, local tax, whatever we were collecting at the time, which was not, we didn't have a bed tax. But we did collect some of that to provide us to be able to have that signage on the highway. So, but it was operation driven, like it was the industry driven, not, and it was, and no one could just pop up directionals in the city, because when new hotels came up, they would try to put directionals in Olean, and we took them down because they weren't DOT approved.
So you know what I mean, you brought that up, so you know what I think what the subcommittee of the three of you should explore is, I think if the city were to, because I know the city has given money to the Chamber of Commerce in the past, I know that's acceptable, and then the Chamber of Commerce, through either applications or some process, might be able to turn that money around and help supplement individual businesses,
Or
something to that effect. So I think, Bridget, I think there's probably a way to get there, Jen, okay? All right, seeing nothing further, I'm gonna make a motion, we got no committee reports, I'm making a motion to adjourn, could I get a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman McCall, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Call to order the City Operations Committee. Let the record show that all aldermen are present. I will make a motion for the acceptance of the meeting minutes for May 6, 2025. Hang a second.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Anastasia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unfinished business, street grading process.
I don't know, if James has had time to get into there.
That one, frankly, I haven't gotten into yet. I know we're, hoping to hire a contractor and use some software to do it, but I can't really give you a report on where we stand on it.
So, just so that way you're up to speed, the original conversation started over a calendar year ago. We thought that Dave Crandall is who they said was gonna come in and give. What we're looking for is for the CHIPS funding, how is Street A selected over Street B? Or how is the list comprised, and how is the road graded, and how is that road list achieved? The previous two DPW directors that we talked to had said that that was kind of Dave's job, so what we've been waiting on is he was the one that was supposed to be coming in, not to put you on the spot, Jane, but that was what we were under the impression that Dave was coming in to give that bill. That's what we thought.
Okay.
Sign it.
And so what we're looking for is not the 3 feet by 3 feet piece of paper that we were given, but rather, like, there's different gradings, so that we can understand it, so that when our residents say like, hey, why didn't Front Street get picked? That we will be able to say with a little bit of information, like, you know, there's a grading process and here's what it is. So we're looking for the simplified version of how that occurs, so that we can give a reasonably coherent answer to residents.
Okay?
Are you, James, you good with that? Just,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I'm not being mean, you understand like what we're trying to say to convey to you?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll put that on then to give you a little time, and I see, is Lakeshore doing the paving this year?
Who got the bid on the paving?
Is it Lakeshore? I only ask because I
I
see
should
them.
know, because I think I signed that letter today.
I only see because I asked and I see them offloading equipment. So they're already started. Tiffany, can you throw this on for the first meeting in July? James, is that
Yep, that'll work.
salt shed conversation? Is the next item?
Honestly, the salt shed conversation is really part of the village garage site conversation. I know apparently a structural fabric enclosure was purchased, but not installed at the Front Street lot due to stormwater concerns. And right now, the only conversation I've had about that is we don't really know where to put it, because the city garage site is so small.
So James, if I may, it was actually separated, it's not part of the same conversation. Our current cell structure has been condemned by our codes department. The sidewalk has been now blocked off for 3 years. I've been asking about this because in the past, there was a building in North Union Street that, under the same condition, we scaffolded it, and we made this big to-do. We wanted the public right-of-way reopened. I want the public right-of-way reopened. I want the condemned salt shed replaced. What I've asked for is the one that was bought to go down to the Front Street yard. Can't that just replace what you have at the city garage? So that way you have a structure that is not condemned, and you also don't have a structure that was bought some years ago just sitting around doing absolutely nothing, and it solves everything and gets us through to, as John said, this could be 5-6 years to do this, and that's, so the salt shed for me is replacing what's there tentatively with what was purchased to get the condemned building out of there and open the right of way.
Okay?
So are you good with if I put this to that same July meeting, is that?
Yeah, I definitely have a better report for you.
Because I'm just looking, because right now is the time you're not using salt, that we could
Right.
be doing this, not waiting until November.
Correct.
So if you're good with that, I'm willing to go to July.
Yep.
Tiffany, can you do that, please? I'm not gonna be here, I have COVID. The next item, I just spoke with Bill, this is gonna get postponed to the next city operations meeting. And then lastly, under new referrals for consideration was the water reservoir cleaning and inspection update. This was something that we had approved a bid on. We just wanted to know, in the last fiscal year, this was all approved. And looking at you, James, but Bill, it was the cleaning the reservoir, so we wanna know what the status is, because this contract was approved and
Didn't we just move the money to a capital project?
Yes, we talked about that. The question, though, I think is,
When is it gonna be
yeah.
done?
yeah, we were.
And is it
Big
gonna be
price
the
of
same bid then?
Right, is the same bid still good? Is that price still good? Because the way Brad had presented it based on that number, they were kind of ready to start kind of soon. Why hasn't it been done, and when's it gonna get done? And is it the same cost?
That,
James, you got something?
It's just, I have an RFP for that on my desk right now. So I hadn't heard that this had actually been approved. Previously, the RFP is to clean them and to put aerators in them to address the THMs. So I will have to follow up with Brad about what was approved last year.
Yeah, we did go with the scuba diver.
Yeah, we had a long topic, but, because you weren't here about scuba diver and robot.
Yeah,
No scuba diver.
No, you wanted the scuba diver, we went with the
So
robot.
you have an RFP that's to go out to bid?
yeah, it isn't, it's, the scope of work and everything is done, but it hasn't been packaged to be published. We expect to get that ready to go this week.
So I may have confused that, I know you weren't here, but Bill, I thought we accepted,
I thought we did too.
that we accepted and approved a bid that was, forgive me, $81,000 or something, there was a couple thousand between,
We'll get this cleared up with Brad.
Sevens.
Yeah,
because it originally had something about 2 inches of sediment, and then there was this whole conversation about sediment, you weren't here.
I thought Saturday was gonna cost more.
It was, and then that money was transferred based on that bid amount, is what was set up. So can we just, in between this bill and the next, because this one, Tiffany, I want to appear on the next committee night, please. And then could you in the interim just send an email with the answers to those few questions, and then we can follow up at the meeting, please? Is anybody anything else on this one?
I'm checking, but if I don't find it for you, I'm good.
I'm ready.
I'm not in the committee.
I'm ready now. I'm good. We're done. So they're gonna send us that email with those answers.
PL 96-24, we authorized to transfer $79,714 from capital fund 213 to line item 8340.447 for costs associated with reservoir cleaning, inspection, mixer installation. That was October 8th.
Okay. We'll get them, we'll figure it out.
Got
Anything
it
else
else
on this? Good,
I'm running
man.
the committee.
No, it's all right, you're good.
I'm good.
You've been added to this committee.
I was gonna say, do I get to be vice chair?
Yes, vice chair is Alderman Anastasia, and then you have been added to this committee. I'll set up the committee list tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody asked me. Sure.
Okay. No committee reports. I'll make a motion for adjournment. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.